Okay, so we have the entities, and what we do now is like we basically make some space so that we can work on the first one. And so now the next part is basically define all the different kind of activities. And so if you don't really have an idea what kind of activities can happen within some kind of entity, there are two ways to approach this. So one, of course, the best one is like get the people in the room that definitely know. So they are, I mean, I don't know, get product, development, whoever. So the persons who basically work on, here in that case, on the account. So they usually have a pretty good idea of what's happening in between and just together sketch out the different kind of activities that are happening. The other quick way is usually like you always can go with created, viewed, updated, and deleted. So this is usually like, I mean, for most of the entities, you have some kind of event. So they might not call it like this, maybe differently, but usually like, because in the end, the interesting thing is like with the activities of an entity, you usually describe the lifetime of this entity. And so, of course, like created, viewed, updated, and deleted is like the raw, let's say the basic version of a lifetime of an object. So let's see. I mean, here in that case, it's pretty obvious that we have a created activity. Then, of course, we might have an account viewed activity, but that's an interesting question because it's always like, so of course we can have viewed, but what would you do with that? So, oh wow, this month 200 more people viewed their account. Not really helpful. So we don't play it out. So this is like, I mean, the kind of filter that you always try to apply on that is like, does it really help me to improve my business or my product? I would say with viewed right now, not. Maybe you have an idea how it could, then add it. But right now I don't do it. So account updated could be something which is really important, not the updated itself, but the things that might be updated. And so this is also like, I did it in some kind of projects where they had, let's say, 2 or 3 different important settings within an account that really were changing the whole experience in business. And then we basically sketched them out as own activities. And so we didn't have updated, we just had, I don't know, gave permission. So for example, in an app, so some apps really rely on that you have, let's say, a location-based permission. And so we then really had something like account permission for location given. And so in that case, we of course could just do account updated and then like update what kind of field would be updated. We put in the properties would work the same way, but we wanted to highlight it because it was an important thing. We want to just have it at hand when we work later and analyze to just pick it out. So it was already a more classified one. So yeah, we have updated, and then some often, and this is why I put it here as well. So maybe let's move it here. In most scenarios, you have a confirmation. So let's say confirmed. I don't know yet, not anymore how Airbnb is handling it, but you often have it, and so let's assume they have it as well. So updated, of course. Then let's maybe put here already the deleted one, and I also want to put another one, which is basically the same, suspended. And so, I mean, of course, like this can enter, basically often I think ends up in the same kind of result. But this is, you could say like, this is something that is initiated by the user. And so this could, for example, then also be a property that you want to add. And so what I usually do is if I have some property ideas, I delete it by. I already put them down because then I don't forget them, and I forget stuff pretty easily. So, and suspended usually is something really that comes from the back end. So like, I don't know, there were payment issues, there are, I don't know, really, really bad reviews or some kind of other behavior, misbehavior in messages. And so, I mean, of course, like in this kind of amount, it can happen that an account just gets suspended. And so, yeah, in that case, we should have a separate event for it because like it's definitely a different thing and can impact different kind of things. Let's see if we have something else. No, I think that looks good so far. Maybe I get some ideas later or so. Maybe you, while watching this, screaming out loud, "Ah, you forgot this kind of activity," which is good. Then you're following in the right way. And then you can put it in your account event schema. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit because we want to do the properties. One thing about naming conventions. So this is my naming convention in which I work. It should definitely be the one that you work in. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's totally fine. So I mean, here in the end, it will create the account created event, and I usually use this kind of, let's say, normal headline kind of style. That's how I name my events. But my properties I usually name in snake case. The reason for it is I cannot really, so there are some reasons. One reason is like I come from a Python background, so this is like my natural way how I define variables. Properties in a way are kind of variables for me, and what I like to do is like I like to prefix them. And of course I could also like prefix here with just account writing like this, but it always, for me, doesn't really feel natural. So what I like to have is like I want to have a clear distinction in the name, how I name my events or my entities and my actions in that way from the properties itself. So because by that, it's like if I'm looking on some kind of schema documentation and so on, I can immediately see what is an event and what is a property. And so believe me, if you use the same kind of naming convention for both, it usually makes it a little bit harder to scan over it and identify it. So that's the only reason. But in the end, it's just like, it's your choice. So you can do whatever you want as long as you do it consistently. All right, properties. So this is not the major property. So this is definitely an interesting one, but not the important one. Okay, so now you shouldn't jump like here. So one thing that I always do, make sure you track an identifier. Internal identifiers are the most important thing downstream. The earlier you can put them into a event. So of course we could enrich it later as well. So this is always possible. But the earlier you can do, the better. So because like this gives you the opportunity, for example, to match it up with some backend data, which you might not have, or with, let's say, downstream to enriches. It doesn't even have to be like, I mean, we don't have to track this on the front end, so we could track it on the back end already, but maybe we have some context missing at the point of time, and so we want to enrich it later in a data warehouse. And so identifiers are basically the key to that. And so always make sure that you have identifiers that are, that help you around the way. So then, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Account type. So in that case, it will be like, I don't know. I don't know if they have such a clear, so, but for example, like, I don't know, object owners. So this could be like, and then the other one just like a, I don't know how they call them. The persons who basically book something. So, I don't know. Interested in trips. So this is not a good, so this is definitely something that needs refinement, but just I want to give you an idea what I mean by that. And so that you have this different kind of types that you define this. Then, of course, something that also like in accounts is usual things like an account status, so that you have active, inactive. Inactive is an interesting thing because it needs a definition later on. Suspended might be pretty easy, and then deleted because it could be that you still have the account around. So I think we have to make this a little bit smaller here. No, whimsical. It's not really built for making things smaller. Anyway, then we just go a little bit horizontally. And then we come to some items that I like a lot, but I know that developers who have to implement them don't like so much. And these are basically summaries. Because, I mean, the interesting thing is, so maybe just one word about account for later for tracking. An account, or usually like the properties for an account,